It's Julia Renee.
And Kendall Aaliyah. Welcome back to the Know Your Power podcast. What's up, guys?
What is up?
What do it do?
What is up?
I have a problem that I haven't even brought up with you. It's not serious. I made the mistake with our podcast intro of using an audio. You know how, like, maybe you don't know, but if you do know, YouTube has like a beta music program where you can download music and use them in your videos. And like some of them cost some money, some of them are free. I used one that cost like $1 because I was like, oh, I'm paying for $1 and I can use this in our intro. I have been paying $1 every single time we upload.
I'm pretty sure I'm paying for that.
No, I added my card to your account.
I mean,
I was like,
you could charge me for it.
No. I was like, so the podcast intro might change slightly. It'll be the same exact video.
Why I was getting those. I was getting those emails. I was like, maybe I should ask questions about it. I was like, but I don't care. I don't know.
It's just every week I've been like, okay, I guess I'm paying $1 for this song that we're using 2 seconds of. So it might change slightly. Just so I can use a free one because it's this whole process every time where I have to like use my credit card.
Oh yeah. All of that stuff is, I remember when Ian first like made the intro for me, it was like every time that, cause it's for my personal YouTube, we have this intro every time it was flagging it and it was like copyright and then you can't monetize. And I was like, ugh.
Yeah, so I'd rather just use a free audio so I don't have to like do this thing every time. But I was just like, every week I think about it and I'm like, oh, I should change it. And then I never do. So this time I think I might actually slightly change it.
So you might see a change here.
Yeah, you probably wouldn't notice unless I told you. It's just going to be like a different beat in the background. Whatever. Okay. Anyway.
Okay. Good to know.
Today we are getting back to the what the fuck is up at the gym segment.
What is up?
I had a panic attack on the treadmill last night because, okay, my gym, for some reason, I feel like most gyms are this way. They have like different brands of treadmills. Why do they do that? I don't know. Yeah. And it's like the first couple are these like old treadmills. No one's usually on them. They all want the newer ones. And like there's a large row.
No one likes the crusty ones.
No, exactly. I'm like, why did they even keep these? Because my gym bought out a Gold's gym and or a 24-hour. I think it was Gold's. Okay. I think they just kept their old treadmills and then added their new nice equipment. Anyway, no one's ever on them. So I go to my usual, which is like all the way in the corner on the nice new treadmill. I get there and someone's like, Juul is there or like vape or whatever. And I was like, okay, well, just in case they come back or maybe they're in the bathroom, I was like, I guess I'll move treadmills. So I'm already like 5 minutes in when I noticed it, but I was like, anyway, I get off and the only other one available where I'm not in between people, because we all know we hate that, I would be on the old treadmill, which is fine. I get on there and just to paint the picture, our gym, my gym, is the upper half is all cardio and it overlooks the gym floor below. So like all the treadmills are against this like railing that like you just look right over into the gym and you're pretty high up, which never freaks me out because it's its own floor. These old treadmills are somehow slightly slanted downward.
Oh, hell no.
I felt like I was on a roller coaster, dude.
What?
And I kept trying to like incline it so that I could feel balanced.
Put me back.
But it like I put it to like 10 incline and I still felt like I was walking forward and going to go over this railing. It was so freaky. I now understand why no one goes on those.
It's like a roller coaster.
To be fair, my heart rate got up, but like not for the right reason. I was freaking out. And so like I kept looking over and I probably looked like such a weirdo. The guy next to me like started looking back because he was like, why are you staring at me? I was trying to like see around him to see if any of the newer treadmills opened up. And as soon as one did, I like booked it back over there. But
it was
a moment.
I don't want to feel like I'm free falling.
No, it was so
while I'm on the
weird.
treadmill.
And also like those older ones are shakier and I like felt the gym floor shaking. I like fully convinced myself I was going to fall to my death.
There's sometimes where I'll be on the Stairmaster and, you know, I have my headphones in and they like completely cover my ears. And sometimes there will be like someone will get on a treadmill like behind and you can feel you can feel the floor like shaking, especially if they run, and it'll like scare me for a second. And then I'm like looking back and I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
I was like, it's just someone like running on a treadmill.
But you're like on the second floor overlooking a railing. So freaky.
No, I don't like it.
So yeah, that's my what the fuck is up at the gym. Do you have any?
Not really.
Okay. I feel like you're in such a routine right now. I wouldn't even be noticing.
Yeah, just because it was like my show and like I wasn't really training for a couple of days. However, when I did I went to a Crunch Fitness to do my last like little leg pump workout before I was going to be done with cardio and training before my show. And it's just crazy how many people came up to me at the gym.
That's awesome.
Not that they knew me, but just like asking like what I did, you know, because I was a couple days out from a show. It was really cool. But when I got back and got to go to my home gym here in Austin, they were so sweet. They made like a big deal.
Wait,
and they were just
cute.
like, yeah. And the videographer that works there, he's one of my friends.
He's awesome.
He saw me like pull up and come out, and I saw him like run to go get his camera, and he wanted to like interview me about it. But they were so supportive and nice, cool. But nothing like weird at the gyms yet.
Just good things.
Just
which
good
is
vibes.
Good. I feel like that gym is so good at making a community and making every member like feel part of it, which is awesome. So
yeah,
I'm glad they did that for you.
Oh, I also wanted to mention Christian Guzman. That's what I almost said. Christian Guzman DM'd me on Instagram about our last episode. Well, it wasn't our last one. It was
the one where we were talking about his Alphalete updates.
Yes, when we made the video about reacting sort of to his Instagram or his YouTube video about like the status of, why can't I find him? How do you spell Christian? There he is. Yeah, and he sent me a DM and he said, y'all's podcast hit me hard. I seriously appreciate those words more than you guys know. And I just told him, like, of course, like you very much deserve it. You put a lot out there, you know, and we love to see you thrive and taking time for yourself to relax a bit, because he's just been going hard like
forever for like 10 years.
Like seriously. And we've said this in a couple of episodes that when we've talked about him or Alphalete, we're like, how does he do it? Like, we genuinely don't know how he does it. And so most of the time he's been doing it while he's like prepping for a show too, that's really sweet of him to like say anything too. I think Alphalete also commented on that video on YouTube, and I like pinned it to the top. So that was just really cool. That is really cool. Yeah. And like, I always assume everyone we talk about like will never even hear it. Yeah, me too. Or they'll get mad. Yeah, I always assume, I'm like, oh no, they're gonna hate us. Yep. They're gonna cancel us. I mean, it is like truly honest I spoke a little bit about like how much Alphalete literally propelled my entire fitness career and getting into competing. So it's pretty crazy. And that's awesome. I don't know. I still view him as like a celebrity. Yeah. When he DM'd me, I was like, dude, I screenshotted like, Christian knows who I am. I was like, this is so cool. That's so funny. And then I think when I posted my like peak week video, he commented on it too. Yeah. I was like, it was so nice. Yeah. So awesome. So, he's another one of those people that's like really good at making it feel like a community and like just supporting other creators or like his athletes. I have something about Alphalete actually, which is like, this was such an odd full circle moment, and I'm taking all of the credit, even though he did not say that at all. I got a random DM from this guy who I think is like around my age, a little bit younger. And it's this long paragraph. So I was like, okay, I got to read it. You know, sometimes I can just ignore little messages, but I had to read this. And it starts with like, hey, Kendall, like, I'm an Alphalete athlete. This is my first drop with them. Like, would you ever use my code? Blah, blah, blah. And like, I'm like, oh, okay, this is just promo. He said, you gave me my first personal training lesson ever when I was in high school and you worked at Lifetime. No. And I was like, there is no way. Like, again, I'm taking all the credit. He did not say that I propelled his fitness career, but I would like that I did. I'd like to think. He had never really been in a gym setting before. So cool. I taught him like all the basic lifts that day. And it was just one session, just like a free complimentary session. But I was like, what a cool full circle moment. That's crazy. To like, and now he's an Alphalete athlete. Yeah. What's his name? Like his page is awesome. I'll shout it out again. If any of you use his code, I feel like it's close to home. Hold on. Let me make sure. It's Ramirez Bra. Ramirez Bra. But I was like, that's so funny. Also, the fact that I'm only like a year older than this kid, but I was training him in high school. But yeah, no, just so nuts. But his code is RAM.
Nice guy. I thought that was just such like a funny, sweet DM to be like,
awesome.
to be like, hey, you're crushing it. Also, you gave me my first personal training lesson when I was in high school. And I was like,
full circle moment.
Truly. I'm taking all the credit and I expect 10% commission on all of his sales. Not really, but he's crushing it. It was just really cool to see. Another big news that we both seem to have saw and the whole world.
Did you see?
Yes.
Okay.
Cbum.
The first video, though.
Yes.
So everyone has probably seen it. If anybody knows Cbum. So the first video, and they'll be on our stories. The first video is like, it's like a setting where he's getting like interviewed.
Like a press conference after like an NBA game.
Yes.
Like that's what you should picture if you haven't seen this.
Yes. And he like walks in and what does he say?
Here, I'll play it.
Play it.
Thank you everyone for coming today. I'm just gonna jump straight into it. I've been thinking a lot about my future and what's important to me. So, Daddy's home.
And he's wearing a Gymshark shirt.
Yeah, and
so,
also
he teased us to make us think that he was getting retired.
Yeah.
He was going to retire.
I didn't even think of that.
There's two of those videos.
Okay.
The first video, it doesn't show, it stops at him saying, let's get straight into it. And then he posted the second one a couple days later with the rest of it where it's like daddy's home. And now he's like a co-owner of Gymshark?
Yeah, so that's what I didn't see until just now because the caption says, I'm back, part owner, all athlete at Gymshark, which honestly, such a smart investment for him.
Because he was with them and then he wasn't.
Yeah.
And now he is again. I wonder why he stopped to begin with, though.
I feel like, I mean, he was so involved. Just my opinion. He was so involved with Raw and making his own products. I could understand like the like required posts being a lot if you're with like multiple huge companies and so involved in both of them. True. So I think maybe just timing wise, it makes sense. Also just like so smart. Also
just imagine, well now he's part owner. So like there's even more benefit for him to do it.
Yeah.
But just imagine like all the other brands are like, damn it. They got Cbum.
Kicking the curve.
How are we
going to
get Cbum? That's crazy.
I saw so many, I think Gymshark posted their own memes, which again, we can share. Memes. They were so funny where it's like, it's all anyone's talking about in the fitness community. What was I going to say? Oh, I saw a comment and it was like the top liked comment that said, this might just save Gymshark. And it's like, bro. I mean, first off, we've continued to support and enjoy Gymshark, but like we also know that some of their drops have been like hits or misses or whatever. And yeah, a lot of people are really excited about this. And I'm assuming since he's part owner, I'm sure he'll have like his own line maybe within it or be making more of like the design choices or just like approving things. Just bum. It's all sweats.
Or savage.
Genius.
Because I think that Gymshark in one of the memes used the TH.
It's not Gymshark, it's Gymshark.
Yeah, they said Gymshark ? Nah, Gymshark.
I like that he owns the slight lisp.
Zach didn't know that. He does that.
Oh yeah.
He was like, we were looking at, because I showed him the first video and I was like, oh my God, is he going to retire? I was like, he can't retire. He goes, he can retire whenever he wants. I was like, but
no, he can't.
I was like, no, he can't. He's like, yes, he can. He can retire whenever he wants. And then it ended up being about Gymshark. And I was like, you just threw me for a loop for no reason.
Genius marketing though, for real.
Yeah, he got me. Yeah. I think that was the intention, to think he was retiring.
I thought it was really well done and like such a good announcement. I actually didn't even see the full video until just now. Before, all I saw was him unzipping.
Yeah, that was the first one. And then the second one was Gymshark. And I was like, oh.
So smart.
For me, I was like, this is kind of anticlimactic.
So creative.
But yeah, that's... Yeah.
Good marketing for the brand.
Why didn't he run it by me? Usually he runs things like that by me.
Sure he does.
You know?
In your delusion.
In my delulus.
Another DM I got was, so I posted a reel yesterday and then I deleted it and then I added it back to my page because I thought it was cringy. I just hate, you commented so you've seen it, but I'll come around.
Is it the muscular with the thing.
The manly one.
Yeah.
I hate doing like anything where I'm fake talking or like have text. I don't know why. I just like make myself cringe very easily.
You must cringe on all mine.
Well, no, if I see you or anyone else, I'm like, oh, this was such a good post. But when I do it, I'm like, what is this? Anyway, so it is basically a post saying like, aren't you afraid lifting weights is going to make you manly? And I talked a lot in the caption how like I got a lot of those comments, especially when I was new to the fitness industry. I was like 15, 16, trying to be a muscular woman. All of my friends would make comments. And like, granted, they usually weren't like that mean, but in my head, like I took them so personally and I was always so self-conscious.
Yeah.
And I just got this DM from like my childhood best friend who like, we've checked in with each other like once every few years of like, hey, hope you're doing well. He sent me the cutest, I'm not going to read it because it was like a little personal, but like this huge paragraph about like how proud he is to see me now and how he remembers when I would be in school, if I would like eat anything bad, I would like body shame myself outwardly in front of him, and how he was like always there for me. And I was like, that was just like the cutest, most gratifying, like sweet message I think I've ever gotten, especially because like sometimes I've changed so much, I forget, or I'm like, maybe I'm making it a bigger deal than I thought, or like maybe I don't remember how it was. And he gave me all like the confirmation of like, yes, you were self-conscious, you beat yourself up, but it's so cool to see you like so different now and show up and be a woman. And I was like, I love you so much.
That's awesome.
So it was just a really, really sweet, wholesome message. And yeah, I appreciated it.
I love that.
That's all I have.
Especially not hearing from him for like a long time, and then just like out of nowhere, that little like boost.
And every time he has like randomly DM me, they're the nicest things, and like he's always supported me, which is so freaking cool. And like I haven't seen him since I was like 14, probably maybe 15, so it's been a long time. But we were like, I think
I talked to anybody
inseparable.
That is still,
exactly. I don't keep up with anyone except him. That's all I have for like life update things. You got anything before we answer a few questions?
No.
Just prep life. The whole last episode was a Julia update, to be fair.
Lots of me.
We just have a few questions. I was so dumb. In my solo episode, I had you guys ask me questions, but I didn't check my hidden folder. So there's a ton I missed, and even this isn't all of them. But some of these I think you would have like a really good perspective on too. So I just figured we would answer some of the ones I had missed. This first one says, hi, for the next pod, any advice on having to break up with a coach? I'm upset about it, but I also know I just need a break. My body and my bank account are going through it. I've been with her for almost 2 years for reference, which is a really long time. And I'm a PT myself, but highly recommend seeking a coach for anyone who can keep 1 year round. Any advice? Breaking up with a coach?
So she doesn't want to work with a coach at all. Like she just wants a break. Yeah.
She needs a break financially, physically.
You just have to tell her. There's no like beating around the bush. There's no tips. There's no tricks. You just have to be honest.
I think my biggest advice is like, and this is coming from...
And you don't have to explain yourself.
Yeah,
that's the
true.
thing. It's like you think that you need to come up with a good enough excuse to why you're doing something or why you're not going to go to the party. You never have to tell... You don't have to tell anybody anything.
You just can't make it.
Nope.
We're great at that.
Yeah.
I was going to say, like, as the people pleaser myself, I'm always like, I rather put myself in a financial rut than like maybe take away from this person's finances. You have to remember, like, if she's a coach, you're not her only client. Yeah. She's going to be okay. And I believe this same girl, I did like a Q&A just on my story, asked like a form of this question and added that she's like formed a friendship with her. And I think that's where it's like hard, but you just have to like set that boundary and understand if it is a friendship, they're going to stay your friend. Just because you're not paying them doesn't mean like that friendship ends or that relationship ends also.
Yeah. And you can do it in a way to where whether you like text her or call her and just like appreciate how long you guys have been together, your relationship, for the things that she has taught you. I'm in a place right now where I just want to do this on my own. I need to take like a little bit of a break. I've been, coaching with you for this long and I just need to do this on my own, you know, and you're going to build it up so much in your head for so long. You might have already done that already, but you just need to bite the bullet and do it, because you're causing yourself a lot more pain, and it's doing a disservice to her, the other lady, as well, because you're not 100% in it, you know?
Yeah.
So it's a short-term uncomfortability so that you can have that weight off your shoulders for a longer
and
period.
have your
And look,
money
you
back.
might come back to her later. You never know. It's not like you guys have a bad relationship to where you have to break up with somebody that's like a really bad coach or something.
Yeah, it sounds like you like her,
Yeah.
and that it's more like your reasonings. But again, you don't owe anyone an explanation. And if she does ask why, you could be transparent of, I just need a break financially and physically. Like you said it perfectly when you messaged us. So I'm rooting for you. And I expect a screenshot of the message you sent her.
We
as
need
proof.
confirmation that you have done it.
Yes.
Yes, you're just going to have to bite it and do it. These things are never easy. They're uncomfy, but it's short-term uncomfortability.
Yes. The next question is, hi, Kendall, I have a question for the pod. As a new bodybuilder, barely going into my second show, how do you deal with a boyfriend who is struggling to support the process but actively trying? For instance, to start off, having a male coach who you are constantly sending check-in pics to has been a tough topic. Then the thought of being in a bikini in front of everyone can be hard for a partner. However, explaining the process and the meaning of everything has helped, but still struggling in regards to a male coach. What are your thoughts on this? Have you ever experienced this, or someone else or had someone else deal with this? I feel like this one's so dependent. I have been fortunate enough that like when I have done preps in relationships, they've understood bodybuilding to the point where they totally get it. Yeah. But I have seen similar situations, or I've gone through similar situations, just not in the actual bodybuilding sense. I would say you're doing the best you can with trying to explain. I wish I could ask you if he ever went to that first show, because I feel like actually going to a bodybuilding show and maybe meeting your coach would eliminate a lot of that like weird.
Yeah, where for him it's like it's just a job.
Yeah.
Like especially like when I first started dating Zach, he had hundreds of clients that were bodybuilders.
Yeah.
So he every single week was going through like women's check-in photos.
He was my
and
coach.
looking at their physique and looking at, you know what I mean? And it was something that at first it was like weird because I wasn't a bodybuilder yet.
Yeah.
But when you take away that like weirdness of it and know that this is their job and they take it seriously like a job, granted, there are coaches that take it, that have like been exposed in the bodybuilding industry for being super creeps, but it's more rare. Most of them, it's their job, and they're not looking at your physique in like a sexual way. They're looking at it in a logical way. For this is what we need to adjust. This is what we're doing. And this is where your lines are at. Okay. This is how this food affected you. And it is hard for a partner to know that they're all doing that. So it also, like Kendall was saying, might be helpful for them to like eventually meet him, go to a show to see it, you doing the poses and how the judges are judging you off of that, and that your coach is doing the same thing.
Because I'm trying to put myself in your shoes of like, my boyfriend currently has never been to a bodybuilding show, knows nothing about the sport. I've had conversations with him and he was like, of course I'll support you, like whatever, do your thing. But I also don't think he would fully understand it unless he was there in person, actually witnessing it, or like watching me go through all of the steps. And I also don't know how that conversation would be if I did get a male coach. I would assume I would like tell him, I mean, he doesn't care about anything. He's so chill, thankfully. But I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of like, if he did care, what I would do. And I do think, are you going to the bathroom? Okay. Just readjusting. I do think it's at least a conversation to have, or like an introduction to have, or an explanation.
Just like you have a job, everyone has a job. It's different. It's a different kind of job.
Yeah.
And it's not something that most people do every week. Like most people don't like look through photos of people in bikinis and critique their body.
Yeah.
It is very different, and it is something that you have to get used to. I think it did take me like a little bit to get used to it with Zach, but seeing like how he's working and how he's literally just looking at it logically, from a coach's standpoint, now it's like you just get used to it.
Yeah.
So, and I have a male coach, and I know that I feel comfortable enough with him and I trust him enough and Zach trusts him too. When I had my first consult with my coach, Zach was there. And not because he was a helicopter boyfriend trying to make sure that some guy wasn't trying to look at my body, because he was my coach.
Yeah.
And he was like, I need to tell him everything that we've done.
Yeah.
So
I like that we also just have chill partners.
I know.
But I have been there where I've had a non-chill partner, so I totally
Yes.
get it. And try not to let it affect your prep or how you go about things, because you're still doing this for you, and eventually he'll catch on, or just get over
that
it.
he has to get used to. Like, it is, now that we've been in it for a couple of years, it's hard to put yourself back into that space of, this is a weird sport.
I was even trying to think of like how my mom probably felt when I was like 16 and had a male coach.
Yes.
I'm like, she never even questioned it.
Yes. Like, literally this past weekend, the amount of times I said, what I do is so weird, because like I was measuring out water. You know, and of course I don't do that normally, just when I'm getting ready for a show, but I'm like, I even told YouTube, I was like, am I ever going to look back at this and be like, how the did you do this? Because it's such a weird sport, but when you're in it and you're used to it, it's not weird anymore. It's normal. But if you put yourself in his position from like that outside point of view, being like, okay, this would be a little weird from the outside.
For sure.
So it seems like you're doing all of the right things, and only time will tell.
Yes.
Yeah.
Agreed. I think we just have like one or two more. This one's a bit specific, and I actually didn't read it through first. So since there's a good amount of numbers involved, it might take me
there's some numbers.
It says, hi, I am such a fan of the show and obsessed with you two. Hope this isn't too long, but here it goes. I'm a 23-year-old, 5'7", and between 173 and 175 pounds. You are built just like me, my girl.
Like, Kendall, did you write this in? This
is my second account. I have been in a caloric deficit of 1650 to 1750 calories since mid-July. I strength train 5 days a week and do cardio every day. I carry excess weight in my waistline, which I have toned up pretty well everywhere else. My boyfriend, who has been in the gym space for almost 15 years, says I need to do body recomp and eat more calories because of how much I am working out. But I'm nervous because I'm told I should be in a caloric deficit to lose weight/fat. Should I gradually increase my calories again, or stay in the 1650 to 1750 calorie range until I lose more body fat? I know this was long, but I trust you ladies and your advice so much. Thank you. Love both of you. Love you too. So this one's tricky, because I'm trying to view you of if you were my client, but also if you were myself, because we are built very similarly.
She also says, okay, she did say in there too that deficit, she's been in it since mid-July.
Yep.
So July.
Like a month and a half,
That's
2
really
months?
not that long.
Yeah.
Like I would say 6 months is a long time.
Yeah.
To be in a deficit. Like, that's a long time. But I don't think you've been in one long enough to where you necessarily need to go back into more of a body recomp yet. And your calories are at a really good point. Like, that's a very smart.
You're not too low.
That's a smart deficit. And it seems like you might be doing a little too much cardio.
That's
though.
what I was going to say.
You don't need to be doing it every single day. That is a lot on your body. I think maybe taking a little bit more rest. But I think that you could continue to do the deficit for a little bit longer and see if you can get that like excess weight off that you desire.
Yeah.
And then maybe in the holiday seasons, that would be a time to start going more into a body recomp,
Exactly.
start increasing the calories a little bit, get your metabolism back up, start doing less cardio, stuff like that. But you haven't been in a deficit too long to where it's dangerous and concerning yet. Again, this is from what we know from.
I was going to say the literal exact same thing of I started a deficit earlier this year, and I've just been like gradually kind of in a cut. I'm not like, I'm eating probably around the same as you. And again, we're built the exact same.
I think you sent this message in so that we can just talk about it.
But when I started being in a deficit earlier this year, I was running every day because I just wanted to kickstart my cardio and really dive back into things. And the weather was beautiful. And I realized I was gaining weight. And I was like, what is going on? I'm not eating enough to gain weight. I'm doing cardio every day. I'm still training really hard. The problem was I was overdoing cardio. My body was inflamed and I was not seeing results because of that. So exactly what you're saying, I would keep calories the same if you feel good, and I would maybe lessen your cardio. And I know that sounds crazy, but that's essentially doing the same as increasing your calories a little bit, where you're just like creating a little less of a deficit, and you'll find that like zone where you start to see results, and just stick with it either until you hit that goal and then you can reverse diet, or if you're not seeing results, like what you were saying, by like the holiday season, like maybe give it till like the end of the year or December time, then switch it up. But definitely give cut periods long enough to give results, like a true test, before just switching what you're doing every few months or weeks.
Exactly. Usually like a good rule of thumb for like a proper cut where you're not being too drastic, where it's dangerous, can be 4 to 5 months, you know, and then switching things up.
And that's even like in an intense cut sometimes.
Yes.
Like this seems really healthy and maintainable.
Great.
Yeah.
So,
also, the type of cardio you're doing or how long you're doing it. If cardio every day is like your holy grail and you love doing it, just cut down on how much you're doing. So if you're currently doing like 35 minutes, maybe bring it down to like 20, 25 minutes. Yeah. That would be my tip. And just see how it works for you. You might surprise yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. We got one more question. This one's interesting. And we've talked about it a little bit just between us, but like I kind of want to talk about it as a whole. And I thought it was fascinating because I used to have this question all the time when I was first getting into fitness. It says, saw your story, been loving the podcast. I think something you should touch on is how different putting on muscle looks on taller versus shorter women. How quads look, for instance, or how much easier it might be to gain if you're shorter or have a smaller frame. Especially since you and Julia are different heights and I'm 5'7". We got a lot of 5'7" girlies in the chat today.
The tall people.
Sometimes it feels like it takes forever for me to show the gains and muscles in my quads. I totally see you and I totally get this. And it's not that we put on muscle any slower than a shorter body would. It's if you have a bigger frame, it's going to take longer or maybe even more muscle mass or more body weight to see that difference. For instance, like my mom is 5'1", tiny, adorable. When she loses 5 pounds, you see that 5 pounds. When I lose 5 pounds, you don't.
Interesting.
Like I feel like our bodies just like show weight and show muscle differently. It doesn't mean
because it's also distributed differently and over a longer. Like I always tell people, I'm like, of course I look jacked. I have a lot in a small space.
Yeah.
Like there's not very much other places it can go.
Just go straight to quad.
It goes to my big toe.
Versus, like I even gain weight like in my forearm sometimes. And I'm like, what is that about?
Yeah,
like, let's like condense some of it.
Bodies are just like, they're so different. And what's crazy is someone thought I was 5'7". When I answered on my story that I was 5'2", people are like, oh my God, I thought you were 5'7", just with the muscle. Yeah. And when people see me in person, it's like, no, I'm actually really tiny. Like I'm like really small. But I think when Kendall and I describe like the difference between our physiques is like Kendall and Zach have similar physiques where they're longer, leaner, muscle bellies.
I am Zach.
Yes.
I think.
And it's crazy because the difference in how things look. Like Kendall and I can probably put muscle on at about the same rate, but it'll look different on each of us because my muscle bellies are shorter. So that's why like when you're looking at my quad sweep, it looks ginormous.
Because it is, but
of the years that I've worked on it, but also because my muscle bellies are shorter and there's like less space for it to go. So one of my biggest examples of this, and if we're able to pop a photo of the difference between Angela Borges from the Olympia stage versus like Fran. Francel is 5'2".
Angela, I think, is even taller than me.
Also, Fran DM'd me. Did you see that? I forgot to tell you. She DM'd me.
Wait, what did she say?
Yeah, I forgot to tell you.
Hold on, pause.
Sorry.
This is way more important.
I completely forgot. Let me look it up. Okay. Fran. Okay, so during my peak week, I was like posting all week, and I posted this photo of me on my story, and she put wow with the star eyes.
Dude, the way I would throw
and a
up.
flexing in the clap, and I was like, holy shit. And then I posted another story where I was answering a question, and I was like, I'm 5'2". I live in Austin. I'm 135 pounds. And she says, we are the same height and the same weight.
Wow.
And I was like, holy shit. I said, oh my God, wow, this is so cool. And she just said good luck with the little queen emoji.
Awesome.
I was like, holy shit.
I love when people on that caliber are still just like very nice, normal humans.
It's crazy. And just to think, I was like, oh my God, we're the same height and weight. I was like, okay, it really helped me realize that okay, we have similar physiques. This is a good sign.
Yeah.
But the difference between like Angela Borges and Fran is that Angela is almost 6 foot, right? Mm-hmm. And Fran is 5'2". And when you see them side by side, they're both insanely muscular women.
Yeah.
But if you look at their quad shape, you can tell that Angela's is more longer and leaner, and her quad shape is more like a rectangle, is like I like to describe it. Versus Fran, her muscle bellies are shorter and a little bit more round, to where her sweep is like a half circle.
That's such a good point too, because like as a tall fitness girly, it's like sometimes you see physiques like Fran and it's easy to compare yourself. Like I think the whole world does anyway. But just finding motivation or inspiration in other creators that might be closer to your height or your build or your style of training makes it a lot easier to be like, okay, I'm on the right track. Exactly what you're saying. Like knowing that you guys are the same height and weight is like reassuring, because that's someone you look up to.
Yeah. Like
know?
Back in 2020, when they announced the division, I looked her, she was my first person I ever followed from wellness.
Yeah. And
I looked her up, and I knew that that's how tall she was. I never knew how much she weighed. So I remember putting my photos side by side next to her so that I can see like where I needed to improve and like what the standard was. And I recommend anybody does that. If you have somebody that you look up to, whether it's in bodybuilding, CrossFit, powerlifting, whatever you do, try to figure out like their height, their weight, and stuff like that, so that you can have a more realistic goal that actually matches your frame.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Like
and
when I think about you, I think about Angela.
Yep.
Like I'm like, okay, they have similar body types. And
she's
when I
just
think
so dense,
she's crazy. I've seen her in person, and I was like,
yeah, she's nuts.
Holy shit. She walked in, I was like, oh my God, your legs are nuts. Like just seeing them like,
no, Yarishna too was at our gym once when I was in my prep for my first wellness show, or I think I might have been in between that show and nationals, but either way, I was in prep for a wellness show, and she is shorter than me, but still has like a little bit more length to her muscles. So it's someone I always looked up to physique wise. And yeah, just in person, you are just like, jaw to the floor. It is nuts.
Also, when is Yarishna going to go back on stage? And when is Angela going to go back on stage?
Hopefully soon.
Like that top 5 from, what was it? The first Wellness Olympia was in 2020, right? Like those top 5 girls, like where are they?
That's like
where'd they go?
That's forever for some reason the top 5 in my head. And I know there's other amazing competitors, but like something about that, like it's just that initial
it was a monumental moment, and we were there.
Yeah.
So it was just, it means a lot to us. And it's also like the first time that division came to America to the Mr. Olympia. So I'm like, selfishly, I'm like, when are they coming back? But I mean, since they competed, bam, 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 bam.
Yeah.
Since then, but I think that question is a really good question, and I recommend finding people that look similar to your physique.
And it totally depends on your body type too, because I'm a taller girl, but I gain really easily. Versus I know some taller girls who have the absolute hardest time gaining any muscle or body fat, but I also know some short girls with the most insane metabolism. So I think it's more dependent on you and individuality than just being like tall versus short.
Yeah, and it's also like you're saying, knowing your phenotype. Like if you're a hard gainer, if you put on muscle easy, everyone is different. Like for example, there's one of my friends who's also a wellness pro. She's even shorter than me. And so we have similar muscle bellies, and we put on muscle at the same rate. But she can lose body fat just by looking, like just by blinking.
I'm jealous of those people.
I have to do a little bit more cardio. I have to eat a little bit less. The grass is always greener. It's like the girls who get to eat more calories and it's hard for them to put on muscle are like, oh, I wish I can put on more muscle. And the girls that can put on muscle easily but have to eat a little less to get it shredded are like, oh, I wish I could,
Yeah.
But
Just stick with it. Find inspiration.
And you probably
in some
have a lot
other
more
tall
muscle
girls.
than you realize. It's
Yes.
just like yours
It
is getting
hides.
spread out through longer limbs versus
Dude, I
a
have
short girl's.
the longest arms in the
She
world.
has really long
and
arms.
I was doing lateral raises superset with like the what are these called? External rotations, I guess.
Yeah.
For rear delts.
I'm like rear delts.
And when I'm doing lateral raises, no arms. They're gone because my arm is stretched out and they're so long. And it's like the muscle I do have is stretched out through that whole portion. And then I come up to like the curl position for those.
Like, oh, there they
and
are.
I was like, oh, there's all the muscle. So like sometimes it just takes like looking at yourself a different way.
Yes.
Truly.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Shout out to the tall girls.
Yep. And the short girls.
And the shorties.
We love you both. That's all I have.
All right, y'all. Well, as always, you can message us your questions to the podcast Instagram, or what's easiest is if you email them to knowyourpowerpodcast@gmail.com, because then we can put them on our little outline and make sure that we don't miss it. But as always, we love you all so much, and you're more powerful than you think.
Bye.